Today, I am chatting with George Kennedy Sensei, who's a 7th Dan Shihan and Chief Instructor Dojo Cho at Aikido Center of Atlanta. And he's also the chairman of the United States Aikido Federation. Welcome, my friend.
Good to be here. It's great to see you.
Yeah, thanks so much for calling. Was it like 2 months ago or something? I get this call from you. I was like, wow, he's giving me a call. That was nice. I appreciate that.
Well, we're just trying to touch base with people and see how everybody's doing in these crazy times, so just checking in.
Yeah, absolutely crazy times. So one of the things I want to talk to you about, which has been on my mind today, something like a lot of people are thinking about, is what is the current state of Aikido seminar T-shirts? I'm wearing one right now.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, well, like I say, we have a box full of them left from last year. So if you don't have enough, I'm your man.
I thought of that because I'm like, I've been doing these little video chats, as you saw, with some other people, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to wear a different Aikido T-shirt just because I think Penny Bernath had said that. She posted something that she's wearing like Aikido T-shirts daily just to, keep us all happy and excited, motivated for the future. So, and just to touch on that for a second, it's kind of funny, but my favorite Aikido T-shirt ever was the ones coming out of MAC with the design and the shirt. Remember the Udansha series that started in 2004 for 3 years in a row? Those black T-shirts.
I do.
My favorite T-shirt.
Yes, I do.
By far.
Yeah, you talking about the ones that was like the rock star schedule? Is that the ones you're talking about where it listed all the sensei's seminars from the year? It was like a tour, like a rock and roll T-shirt.
Yeah, that I wasn't thinking of that one particularly, but that one was cool too. But yeah, I just love those seminars as well. So I've known you for a long time. And again, what I've been doing when I'm chatting with people is telling people what I connect or associate you with. So when I think of you and I see you, and I see you at all the seminars, obviously, when we talk, is your beautiful dojo first and foremost. It is really unique. Everybody in the USAF knows your dojo. They've been to your dojo. They've taught at your dojo. Definitely, I think all the TC and Yamada Sensei a million times. But there's people watching that are around the world that are in other organizations. Talk about your specific physical dojo, because it is the most unique dojo I've ever seen.
Well, thank you. We are extremely fortunate, very, very lucky to be where we are. And I have to just say thanks to Alan Gay, to one of our long-term members. Alan's been a member for years and years and years, and he bought the building at auction. It was actually an empty shell. There was no roof on it. It's now on the National Register of Historic Places. The building was built around 1910. It's made out of foot-thick granite from Stone Mountain. It was quarried in Stone Mountain, which is right down the railroad tracks from us, and was built as a storage facility for building materials and feed and seed. And back in those days, the area around us was still very rural. And so they used it to basically offload stuff off of the train and into the building. But it had sat empty for years and years and years. It was neglected. The city of Avondale was actually parking their garbage trucks there. That's how much they valued it. Wow. So Alan purchased the building, and he came to me one day and said, this was shortly after he had taken his Shodan test, and came to me and he said, Sensei, I have this building. I think it would make a nice dojo. So I went over there, and when I walked in, my jaw dropped. I mean, I just could not believe it. And so he and I became partners. He did most of the renovation, but I hired a friend who was an architect to build it out with the dressing rooms and the bathrooms and the office, and we studied temple doors to replace the big metal roll-up door with the beautiful doors that we have now. And the rest is history. That was 20 years ago, and I still have to pinch myself every time I walk in the building. I can't believe how fortunate we are to be there. So it's just it really is a great space, and I'm thrilled. My ship came in when that happened.
Yeah, you teach a seminar, right? And then the hosting dojo presents some sort of gift. I've seen you give Yamada Sensei gifts, and Ruben gave me some teacups when I taught at his place last year. So Alan basically handed you a dojo as a gift after Showdown. Hey, I think that should be the new precedent, right? That's awesome.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, that was it came out of the blue. I was totally surprised by it. And, like I say, I mean, after being in basements and warehouses, and you know how it is to when you're running a dojo, places with the smelly old canvas mats and no air conditioning and all of that. It's quite a change. So we're like I say, I can't wait to get back in there. Right now, it's sitting over there empty and it's driving me crazy.
Yeah, so. I can totally relate to that. And a building's one thing, right? But I think what's inside of it is what makes it even more special and unique. And I just have to say, we've been coming to your dojo for as long as I've been training, 20 years and probably before that. But like your people are just some of the most special Aikido people. I still have memories of going down, staying with Eric Pierce, meeting Rich Nardi at summer camp in 2000. And he just kind of took me along as like the big brother, and just helping me out and making sure I was safe and nobody was destroying me on the mat at summer camp. And, yeah, you just got some great people.
Except him, right? Except him. He got to,
No, now he destroys me, but back then he did. But yeah, just good times for sure.
No, I was just going to say, you're right. It's the community of people that our Aikido family, and I couldn't agree more. It's a really special group of people.
Yeah, I have one other particular memory, and then we can dive into some stuff. But tell me if you remember this. It was 2007. Your seminar, I believe, was in February that year. The morning sessions ended. The mat's empty. I'm walking off. It was like the place was empty. And I walk by your office to the right, and you're in there with Yamada Sensei. And he's got my Udansha book in his hand. And you motioned me in, and I'm like, uh-oh, is it possible that I could be demoted from Showdown to first gear? Because I was like it was in the front center training the whole time. He's watching me. And he basically had said, he was watching me. He looked at my book. It'd been like 3 years since I tested. And he said something like, you test for Nidon. And I didn't really fully understand what he was saying. Like, I'm testing now, or he wants me to test. And you were like, no, he's watching you. He likes what he sees. He wants you to go ahead and get ready to test. And I was like, well, actually, we're going to be in Cincinnati in 3 months or 2 months. And we were planning on that, if that's okay. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, whew, as I walked out. Do you remember that?
I do. And I know what it's like, when you feel like you've been called to the principal's office, It's like, oh my God, what have I done?
I know. I was like, I'm like, is it possible? I mean, I've never seen him demote somebody from Showdown. The first guy could be the
first. Right.
But I'll always remember that year, especially in your dojo. So yeah, I want to ask you how, again, such a loaded question. How's it going? Like, what's going on? I pay attention to what you guys are doing and Anna's doing. And, obviously social media today versus, 20 years ago, we didn't have it. So, but what is going on that maybe we don't see online with your dojo? How's everybody doing? Are people practicing? Are they working on their fitness? Are they, what's going on?
Yeah, I think everybody's trying to stay motivated, which is, we're all, we're just now, I feel like I'm almost like coming out of a coma. I mean, the couple of months here, you're almost in denial about it. And going through the Aikido withdrawals has just been terrible for everybody because, we have the virtual stuff, and I'm, as you know from our conversations around this, I'm the least technical guy in the whole world. Okay, this is not my area of expertise by a long shot. But we have tried to do some of the virtual stuff. I recorded a Joe Kata thing right when all this started. As you mentioned, Anna Gallagher has been doing kids classes and now some adult classes, plus her movement arts stuff where she's doing, where she combines what she's learned from Aikido with some of her yoga and physical, therapy stuff. And it's so, we're trying to do that. There's so much stuff out there right now, Jonathan. I have to tell you, I'm really reluctant to do anything myself, anything more myself, because first of all, I'm not very good at it. And second of all, there's so much stuff already out there that's so good. I'm looking at, Vu Ha's got stuff out there. I've got people that attended a virtual class with WeWow. Dojo Cho from Hambu Dojo now is doing classes.
Right.
So there's a lot of material out there and some really good stuff. There's also some stuff that's not so good, but I encourage my students to train with other people and to see how other people are doing stuff. And this is a great opportunity to do that without having to, travel across the world to get that instruction. So that's very encouraging. I do think, what we're trying to do, we're taking baby steps back to getting to practice. We came up with a series of protocols that would allow us to start some outdoor classes. Right now, it's a very involved thing, and I know a lot of people are not wild about the idea, but first of all, we would limit the space. It would be outdoors in our parking lot. The dojo would remain closed. We would have everybody dress out before they get there. You have to go through a checklist of, have you been exposed, blah, 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 all the medical stuff. We would greet you with social distancing, greet you with a thermometer, with one of those contactless thermometers, and a hand sanitizer, and then hand out, if you're borrowing weapons and don't have your own, those would obviously haven't been touched in a while. They would be handed out, and you would keep that weapon for your own practice. And we would run several sessions with 10 people each. Control the entrance. You'd come in through one gate and leave through the other. So it's very involved and very, kind of tedious. But at the same time, it would allow us all to meet together face to face, or at least half face, because everybody has to wear a mask.
Right.
So that's the first step that we're trying to take right now. And the only thing that's holding us up is we're waiting to get the thermometer. I had to order one of those, and I'm waiting for that to come in.
Gotcha.
One of our members is a doctor at the CDC, and he looked over this and says he thinks it's safe. So we're listening to the scientists and again, sort of taking baby steps.
Yeah, we're in a similar situation, although our state's, I think, a little bit more locked down than yours at the moment. We're in phase 1, so dojos and gyms cannot open, nail salons. But phase 2 supposedly is supposed to kick in May 22nd, and like you, we've got the same protocols in place. I ordered a week ago an infrared thermometers, some disposable masks. You'll be required, like I have roping set in, so you cannot enter the mat until you hit the sink and wash your hands thoroughly. Hand sanitizer, masks. There'll be social distancing inside the dojo, obviously 6 foot apart, no contact. So it'll be weapons for a while. But just I really believe that, based on talking to you and so many others, that everybody is just so antsy to get together, even if it's like practice. So just getting together in a location, whether there's a roof or not, and holding a Joe and smiling, I think, is going to instantly charge everybody back to remembering what it's all about beyond the physical training. So we're excited. I hope we get there next week. I hope you guys do as well. And I don't know, I don't know. You said you're going to start outside, but are you guys mandated to not open like we are until phase 2, Georgia right now? I'm not familiar with it.
Georgia, as you probably know, our governor decided prematurely, in my opinion, to go ahead and open things up. So, the nail salons, do you really need to get a tattoo right now? I mean, there's a lot of stuff we're going to listen to the medical profession and to the scientists. We're not paying attention to what the politicians say so much as we are what are the doctors telling us. And it looks like Daryl Tangman has been following the stats, and he's the right person to do it because that's his expertise. And Daryl keeps us updated every day on what the statistics are showing. And it looks like things have leveled off, and in some cases dropped off a little bit. It's hard to tell because the testing and so forth is all over the place, and you don't know whether you can trust the data or not.
Sure.
But so we're like I say, we're erring on the side of caution. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, no, I think that's smart. I mean, my wife's in healthcare, as you know. She's a pharmacist. We're lucky too to have a student that's a nurse manager in the healthcare system, and his brother is a physician at Duke that specializes in population health and infectious disease. So he's got a direct channel CDC. I agree with you. There's always, every politician has an agenda. I'm sorry to say, those that are listening are politicians, but I'm going to go with the science. And err on caution, right? My question is, if we get together at winter camp, is it going to be consensus on how we do the training, or are we going to follow whatever the government says at that point? What do you see happening? What are you guys talking about?
Well, I think that, again, I think the consensus on the board and the TC and the people that have, we haven't had a lot of discussion about it, but I think that, again, I think we're going to try to make sure that everybody's safe.
Right.
And that's our primary concern. Aikido is about, protecting. I mean, if you're trying to protect somebody who's trying to hit you over the head, why wouldn't you do everything within your power to protect your partners and your friends and your family and everybody that your partner comes in contact with? I mean, that just that. So my feeling is we're not going to do it unless we can do it safely.
Right.
There are other concerns. I mean, it was heartbreaking to cancel first my seminar, the Atlanta Spring Seminar.
Sure.
We've been doing that for almost 50 years, and to have to, for the first time, we had to say it's not going to happen. And at first, we were kind of in denial. We were like, okay, well, we're going to postpone this. And I talked to Sensei, and he's got, look, I got a lot of slots open. They're canceling in Europe, so maybe we could do it on this date or that date. And then we had to rethink it, and a couple of weeks later, we're going, it's not going to happen.
Right.
And just be realistic. And then the same thing happened, of course, with the summer camp. And again, it just breaks my heart. But even if the political situation was different, and they said it was always safe to do it, you could do it. A lot of people wouldn't come. I mean,
right.
A lot. First of all, they'd be afraid to come. And second of all, with people losing their jobs and everything else, the airline industry shut down.
Yeah.
So many different factors. Penny was saying, in November, is the hotel going to be open? These are all things that are just completely up in the air.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to make plans right now. It's really hard to say this is what it's going to look like, or we hope it'll look like this.
Sure.
Everybody's just floating out there trying to figure it out one day at a time.
Yeah. And then you on top of all that, which are excellent points, you have the core. I think some data came out with the average Aikido student, I want to say, being 45 to 60 that's currently practicing. And, we have deep history in the USAF. You're coming up on your 48 years, coming up on 50. My teacher's 50 years. Charlie Guinness is 45 years. Penny's on 50. So when you take a certain age demographic, which are higher risk, and then you have pre-existing conditions that makes you more at risk. Yeah. And then we're doing close quarter training.
Right.
It's
the absolute worst thing you could do as far as this.
I think we should all just go ahead and put on kendo armor with a beehive nest and just train and just, I think.
Yeah, well, that might be what it comes to. I mean, it really is. And you touched on something there that is a concern and was a concern before the virus. And that is the sort of aging of the Aikido population. And that's been a concern every place I go, all over the world. I mean, I was very fortunate to get to go down to Australia right before all of this hit, thanks to my dear friend, Chris Wong. I got to go down there for their summer camp, which is, of course, in our winter, and went down there with Yamada Sensei. And he and I were sitting there looking out across this gym full of people. There were, hundreds of people on the mat, just like our camps. And he said, what do you notice? And I was like, I don't know. He said, everybody's either gray-haired or doesn't have any. He was commenting on how old everybody looked, and it's a concern everywhere in the world. And I'm not dissing them. I mean, they're the most wonderful people in the world. They treat us like, I can't tell you how nice they are. But it is something that is noticeable wherever you go in the Aikido population. So that's been a concern and something that we've been looking at, and that I think everybody's looking at on their own. And how do we remedy that situation?
Yeah.
What we've been doing, and this has been our local approach, is trying to restructure the children's program. And again, I go back to Anna Gallagher, who's our director of our children's program. And she has structured the program in such a way that it is designed to feed people, to get people out of the children's program and into the adult program. In other words, you get them started young and it becomes part of their life. and then they make that transition, and that's been very successful. We've had students that are now in the adult program. Peter and Penny, or I should say Penny and Peter, have had great success with that. They have students that are black belts that started in the children's program. So that's my take on, what's the hope for the future is start them young and prepare them for the adult classes.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, and it's something we'll have to go back and try to figure out, because we're like most of the middle-sized dojos that try to do a small kids program for whatever reason, don't want to fully commit to it. Not so much from the point you're making, just the part of running it, and we don't have an Anna Gallagher who's a gem. So that makes it challenging, but it's an excellent point. I will share this too. I was talking to Reuven, and we look at different ways to market, as you know, our background with entrepreneurial, et cetera, and my background in media. People are not Googling self-defense. People don't search, how to protect themselves. So if you're promoting that in Aikido, you're wasting your time. Look at our Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu schools market is kind of the direction we're going to go. Once this is actually we had in place, ready to launch it. We had a few ads ready to go, and then COVID hit, so we put it on hold. But it's I think what you're doing in your school, but cater more to adults and women, actually really trying to go after the female demographic now, is just create this environment of self-improvement, this environment of improve your fitness, improve your mental health, improve, everything. And then we're going to do that by training in Aikido, but we're not going to be like, you're going to protect yourself in Aikido, because the only people that really understand that are people that train in Aikido, especially for a long time. So just different ways people are looking at the art, I think, and how to find it. But yeah, I see what you're saying with the age. And again, I look at myself and I'm like the bridge, right? Because I've been training for 50 years, but I'm not brand new. So how do I connect my teacher's thoughts with the new people? How do I bridge that, and that's kind of what I see as my challenge, or my my calling, if you will.
Yeah, we have a very solid group of people in in a younger demographic, a younger age group like yourself, and people like you say are kind of the bridge, and that goes a long way. I mean, that is I'm very confident and hopeful about the future, because we do have a solid group of people that aren't old timers like myself, who are every bit as committed and whose Aikido skills are as good or better than us old timers. And so I'm very, very, hopeful about that. I do think I agree with you that, marketing our art as, self-defense or whatever. I've maintained for a long time that Aikido is so much more than that. Yeah. For most martial arts, self-defense is kind of the end goal. For Aikido, that's the starting place. We're about so much more than that. So I feel like it's not so much that we're competing with other martial arts schools or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or whatever. We're competing with yoga studios. We're competing with people like you say that are interested. And I think we need to promote the idea of the mind-body connection. That there's a mental and spiritual dimension to this art that you're not going to get simply by going to the gym or doing some sort of ground and pound kind of art. Yeah. I agree. I think we do need to look at it from a different market, if you will, from a different standpoint. And I'm looking to people from your generation to kind of lead us in that direction. You're so much more media savvy than I'll ever be. So we need to have your generation engaged in that and sort of picking it up and running with it from where we kind of are leaving off.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And as always, it's always great to see you. Thanks for spending some time with me. I'll always remember the time you came to our seminar a few years ago, and we got to hang out in my house and the hot tub and chat, and that was a good time. Of course, yes, I couldn't keep up with you, though. I had to go to bed at 10. You were ready to keep going. So that's the training I just will not. I need to work on.
Well, I'm glad to help. Of
course, it could have been getting thrown to the ground by you for 2 days straight. That could have been why I was tired.
It might have something to do with it.
I don't know for sure. But as always, it's really, really good to see you. Great to see you at winter camp last year. Sorry I missed you in April. We'll do that again for sure. We'll be there next year.
Absolutely.
And thanks for everything that you've done for us and for the organization. And I hope to see you soon on the mat, my friend.
Jonathan, I really, really appreciate this opportunity, and I really appreciate all that you're doing to help everybody stay connected in a very difficult time. And we just have to stay positive and realize we're going to be together face to face very soon.